Custom Robo kicks fucking ass. For those not in the know, Custom Robo is an arena fighting game for the Nintendo 64, released only in Japan, because we weren't worthy of it yet. It was developed by a company called Noise, who made other Custom Robo games and nothing else. The concept of the game came from wanting to be the action figures the designers played with in real life. Imagine if you could be your Luffy SH figure art. Imagine being in the 501st. Imagine being able to fuck! When you start the game, you're some kid who just moved into town. You have a dream about a custom Robo battle so hot you fucking let it all out over your room. Talk to your mom and she gives you a custom Robo, named Ray. After that, you meet your cousin Shinichi and head off to the Robo station to learn the basics. Here you meet some pivotal characters, Tomboy, Sickly, and Dickhead. Aaron is your typical tomboy, better than half the kids who use Robos, and who becomes slowly more troubled as you surpass her. Yuri is the sister of the current champion Moro, and she has some severe illness. And Heya, I think, is just some little prick who hates custom Robo for some reason, then starts using one. Also, it's implied more than once that he has feelings for Yuri. The game's story is separated into in-game days, with each one beginning and ending at the player's house, and good lord are the first several days so fucking repetitive. You go to a place where every character is hanging out and fight like 4 or 5 nameless kids and then one of the important ones. Could be Karen, Heya, this kid Licked who has the ugliest overworld model by far. What is he, a kid or an old man? Things get a little better by the 4th day. You take a visit to the hospital where your mom works, where you meet Homura, her assistant, who will be important later by the way. From there, you head to the city hall for your very first Robo tournament. It's just a series of battles, but each tournament's usually against other major characters, so you at least get to see more challenging battles and see the actual growth of these characters. And after winning each one, you get a nice shiny trophy and go back to your bed to do it all over again. I think I'm starting to remember why I couldn't really recall any details from this game without looking through my footage again. This right here is basically the whole game. You beat up people for a few days and then go to another tournament. Sure, you meet some new faces. There's Fukashi from the first tournament, who's supposed to be some, punk. There's Catalea, some spoiled rich girl who gets access to Robo parts early through the power of money. There's Jake, who uses a female Robo despite being a guy. I think that's his only character trait. And you go right on to sleep and wake up the next day to do the same thing. There's an ice-themed tournament, a fire-themed tournament, but they're not really that different. You just do the same thing every single goddamn time. This game has a map to explore and places to go, but outside of the main story, it's totally pointless. There's absolutely no optional battles, optional parts, optional things to see or do. There's NPCs to talk to, but that's it. It makes me wonder why you can even go into some of these buildings to begin with. Why not just railroad you the whole way? Well, whatever. After beating a few more tournaments, you get a chance to face Mamoru the champion. But the battle falls short when Yuri suddenly starts falling to her sickness, with Mamoru rushing her to the hospital, and you left to deal with some kooky old dude who came out of nowhere. She ends up being alright, so you beat up some other new face whose name I don't remember and then head home. Next day, the qualifications to compete in the Great Robo Cup. Basically the Robo Championship in some sense. You meet some totally not evil looking kid, whip all your friends' asses yet again, and you're qualified. Now the next day begins just like any other, but things quickly take a turn for the worse when a Robo, completely uncontrolled by any commander, goes berserk in the schoolyard. I like how the overworld model is just yours. Very classy. After you stop it, the evil kid and a few others from earlier tournaments show up and tell you about how this is an autonomous Robo, and they're still a work in progress, but eventually they'll be able to use them to carry out dirty work without needing to be directly in control. Shinichi identifies them as commanders working for the evil organization Dread, who seek out commanders to, I don't know, commit petty theft? What can you accomplish with a toy robot that's a foot tall? Well, apparently these children's toys have the power to wreck things in reality outside of their little virtual machines. So why are kids given them? Whatever. Children's thing collecting RPG logic. After tracking down Karen's brother to tell him what happened, who's a reporter by the way, forgot to mention him, Homura turned out to be another member of Dread and was working under the main character's mom to gather info on the project of the late Dr. Naruse, Nanomachine Technology.
Nanomachine, son!
However, he never finished the project before his death, but what was left of it he implanted in the body of his daughter to keep her alive. That daughter? Yuri. And right before the eve of the tournament, Dread kidnaps her. Well, that's a bit of a tonal shift, right? Little robots in Yuri's body are the one thing keeping her alive, and this organization wants to murder a fucking child to make toy robots? Damn! Luckily, thanks to the old guy from earlier, whose name is Robokichi by the way, you find your way to Dread's headquarters. With the gang all here, everyone rushes through Dread's foot soldiers, with Mamoru ultimately stomping everyone ahead of you, but it's clear he's grown pretty tired from exerting himself. He and everyone stays back to fend off the remaining soldiers, while you head off to face Dread elites. These were some pretty tough battles actually. Most of the game up to this point was pretty easy, but these ones provide a good challenge. Ugh. And at last, you meet the man behind the whole affair. The leader of Dread, Shinonome, I think. And he hits fucking hard, man. He's gonna hand your ass to you if you're not ready, especially since he makes you fight him twice. The Space Arena on the second fight is pretty rad though. And when you beat him, apparently you kicked his ass so hard in the robot battle that you physically hurt him too. Pussy. But anyway, you beat him, he's arrested, Yuri is safe, and everyone's happy. And after all that, the day of the Great Robo Cup is here. The matches here are no joke. Everyone's bringing their A game, so get expected to have your ass kicked a lot. And after a series of battles, you finally arrive to face Mamoru, who tells you how grateful he is for your help, and that he's ready to retire after this final battle. This battle is such a pain in the ass. This dude moves fast, hits hard, and it's so fucking easy to die to him repeatedly again and again. It took me over half a goddamn hour to beat him, and I only beat him by cheesing him with the stun gun, more on that later. But, whatever, you send his ass into Robo retirement and claim your title as Custom Robo Champion. And well, that's the story of Custom Robo. Overall, the story gets better near the tail end, but it's pretty repetitive and boring all the way through, and it's long too. I can't see myself ever going through this again. But wait, Waratata, if that is your real name, you said Custom Robo kicks ass, and yet all you've done is call the game repetitive and boring. Were you lying about it the whole time just so you have an excuse to talk about the vastly superior sequels in later videos? Well, kinda, but I do mean what I said. The story and progression of this game is insanely tedious and boring and takes too fucking long. Seriously, 8 hours? The gameplay of Custom Robo wholeheartedly kicks ass. As stated, Custom Robo is an arena fighting game, though the fighting is done more so with projectiles. For this first game, all battles are simple one-on-ones, which was a missed opportunity being in N64 titles, but the later games did add 4-player versus. Each player is free to move around the map freely and is granted by default a jump and a mid-air dash. At the start of the match, you get a shot out of these little dice shakers that you can manipulate, and depending on what side you land on, you'll determine how long it takes for you to actually get ready. There are 4 types of attacks: your standard gunfire, which auto-targets the opponent, a long-range explosive fired with a cursor, another explosive called pods that comes out from behind and more so roams around until they contact the enemy, and a physical attack that usually takes the form of a charge. During battle, each time you take enough shots or get hit with a dash, you get downed, where you're completely invulnerable until you get back up, where you'll be invincible for a few moments. Now, these default attacks get the job done at first, but they aren't going to be very helpful for very long. That's where the name Custom Robo comes in. Every attack, as well as attributes of your robo itself, are affected by the parts you equip. For some examples, though your default gun just shoots forward, many variants can shoot at an angle, spread fire, be better for close range, long range, or even be a big-ass dragon that has a big hitbox and even lingers. However, that dragon is very slow and easy to dodge, and it might not be useful against a fast opponent. Some weapons have a different effect while airborne too, so that's another thing to consider. Some bombs and pods give more shots at once and have different moving patterns, with some bombs going at an angle and some pods going really fast, lingering around, or even chasing your opponent. Leg pieces can either give you enhanced ground speed, enhanced air dashes, or can even hinder both in exchange for you being harder to knock down. Lastly, the Robo itself can affect the stats like strength, and also changes the physical attack you use. Though in the main game, your character only uses Ray, so they'll be stuck with the default stats and dash, which is pretty lame, but isn't unworkable. And after you've equipped everything, it's time to begin the battle. The battles in Custom Robo aren't so much about laying the smackdown, but rather successfully gimping your opponent's movement. With the right sets of parts at your disposal, you can easily trap the enemy. Using things like bombs and pods to surround them, you can come in for an attack with your gun or attempt to lead them into your traps or stage hazards, if there are any. Of course, you'll also need to be on the defensive, making sure to avoid getting cornered by any explosions, jumping and dashing at the right time, and using obstacles in the stage to cover from fire. This is where Custom Robo really shines. Battles in this game are so fun, thrilling when you're not doing them over and over again in story mode, and when you pull off a really well executed attack, trap, etc., it just feels right. Or you can be a cheap piece of shit. Some weapons in this game kind of break the game in half. Ones like the shotgun, the dragon, and as I mentioned, the stun gun are insane. The stun gun, for instance, is pitifully short range, but it downs anyone instantly. That fight with Mamoru felt impossible until I whipped this baby out. And some of the in-game AI during single player feels insane too, though at the same time, some of them also feel kind of pathetic. Some of them barely move and don't put up much of a fight, and in one instance, the opponent just stayed there. Really. I ran circles around the dude and they never moved.
Shut up and play the fucking game.
I'm getting my mom to make me a sandwich, you guys!
Nonetheless, I'm very happy I got footage of this. Lastly, when it comes to the presentation, the game's graphics are pretty decent. Battle arenas and robos look pretty alright. I like the details on the robos, and they got a fun, colorful look to the whole game. Though the overworld sprites are pretty damn ugly, especially Licked. Music's pretty decent too. It's what you've been listening to behind my voice, and it's got a pretty nice, playful vibe that fits in with the whole toy fighting thing. And well, that's Custom Robo. As a whole. Overall, a very enjoyable experience to play for the first time as a fan of the later entries. Could I recommend it, though? On its own, not entirely. It's a good game, but the sequels are just better. Better gameplay, better mechanics, better story, more parts, more players. There's really no reason to play this one over those ones. With that said, to those curious, you're still in for a pretty good time, should you choose to play this nice, often forgotten game in Nintendo's long history. Though, I should know, you're gonna need a patch to play this in English. We never got this one over here. And maybe it's just me, but that patch always crashed before the start of the Robo Cup. But, yeah. Finally done.
Please clap.
It's been a long time since I alluded to this video, but I'm glad to have finally actually finished it. Hope you all enjoyed watching it. I have some couple other videos planned in the future that I won't make. Or maybe I will. I don't know. It took a lot of effort. What was that? Over 2 years? Yeah, all this footage is like 2 years old. I'm a lazy piece of shit. But anyway, if you watched this far, thank you.